OPEC oil embargo, and they controlled the oil, and it made everything spike. My dad was a sales guy he sold oil products for car dealerships and gas stations, and it really hurt him bad. And I know the surfboard manufacturers, they got limited oil or limited resin because it was created by oil. And so he survived that. He could have walked away with it any time. I know he went through times where he probably hardly made any money at all. And then JB comes in on it, and in 1984, and like I said before, they've been through oil spills, COVID-19, high inflationary times, the housing crisis, and on the bridge closing, and survived. I can see how you want to throw up your hands. And then John becomes a pastor not 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, 42 years, 3 years ago, and stuck with it. And there's something to that to be said. I don't know. They credited their mom with it, with instilling that in them, and maybe that's it. But that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So,
yes, he was a great promoter.
He was a great.
He was one of the better. I mean, he did some stuff that just kind of blew me away. Sometimes he just put Pensacola Beach on the map big time. We were up at the U.S. Championships in Hatteras, and I'll never forget this. They sitting there, and they had this big billboard, kind of whatever, singing, and all the judges sat there, and all of a sudden they come out, and they got this giant poster, and it's got 4 pictures on it, and on the top right was one of me. And so I'm, and I'm kind of like, wow, I'm shocked. I'm like, where'd that come from? It was some surfing magazine or something like that. Probably Tony Caruso or skeleton picture, but some other ones. And it didn't have any names or anything on it. And I'm looking over there, and after they put it up, about 6 hours later, I see Yancey. He grabs a ladder, and he's over there. He's got a magic marker, and he puts my name on it, Pensacola Beach. And nobody else has anything on there. Like, there's Yancey, man. He didn't care. You just get it out there.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, this is a guy, Mark Stachow. He was involved with Interline. He rode Yancey shaped boards for a while, and it wasn't his strength, his shaping ability, but Mark had one of his boards, and he loved it. He did. This is a guy who had a huge contributing factor to the Interlight getting off the ground and their legacy. Is Hank Warner. And Hank and Yancey became partners. Hank was from San Diego. He still lives in San Diego. A great surfboard shaper, a great storyteller, a world traveler. And he'd come back here. He came back here often. And I was just a kid. We'd sit around and listen to his stories of Australia, New Zealand, and Hawaii. But he came back here, and he would set up shop for a couple months and make surfboards. For a while, he did it behind where the little shop was. There was another time where he did it, you guys know, behind the football stadium in Gulf Breeze. It's called, I think, McClure Street.
Yeah.
McClure. And there was a Robinson's Automotive used to be back there. Well, one of those buildings, Hank had a little shaping room, and it was not air conditioned or anything. He just shaped boards. Well, 2 local guys, Harry Allen and Wendell McGahey, they lived in a loft up above the surfboard shaping thing for a while, just because it was so cheap, and they didn't care if it had air conditioning or not. But anyway, Hank came through here, and he brought really good shapes to our area, and because we could have been this podunk little town, and he brought all the stories of San Diego and what was happening.
AGPs?
Yeah. Do you want to tell the story about this board? I told it 2 years ago, but do you want the impact of this surfboard? This is the one he won that contest on?
So in the 70s, Yancey had the little shop that you see here in the front of it. Somebody broke into the shop, pushed the air conditioner in, and stole all the surfboards out of the shop. It's probably 1973, 1974. He was devastated. He was thinking, I'm just going to close the shop. Yeah, and it was probably Sammy Nord. But anyway, he was really debating, do I just close the shop? Because he was supposed to go surf the first East Coast pro surf contest they had ever had. So finally he goes, I'm just going to go surf the contest. Forget it. So he closed the shop down. He went up to the East Coast on this board right here, this little egg that Hank Warner shaped, and he won the first East Coast pro surf contest, won $1,000. Now that might have seemed like a much to you guys, but he was able to restock, probably boards were $80 back then. So he was able to restock his shop with surfboards. And the long story short, our stepbrother Bobby was running the shops back then. He was a real avid foosball player. He played foosball tournaments all over. And he found a card in one little pool hall on 9th Avenue. He goes, hey, if you want a surfboard, call me. So he calls the guy, and the guy who stole the boards had them all up in his attic at his house. So Bobby found the boards, and they got all the boards back. He got the $1,000 and then totally restocked with more boards. So
Wow.
what God intended for evil and whatever, it turned out for good.
Well, plus that cemented Yancey, in my mind anyway, I think in a lot of the surfing world's mind is a real force because he beat everybody. Guys were from the West Coast there, East Coast, Gulf Coast, everywhere. He beat them all. And it was quite a deal.
Tom.
Yep.
Tom, can I share just a quick story about this? So, when Yancey first became a Christian, he invited me to church. I went to church with him. I became a Christian. And the church we were going to was called Brownsville Assembly of God. And there was a pastor there that took great interest in Yancey. And there was a famous radio guy in the Assemblies of God named C.M. Ward. And he did a track on Yancey's conversion experience. Well, fast forward, I'm in Bible college, and I'm driving every Friday as soon as class was over to Cocoa Beach. And I'd surf with Claudia Coggins and all these guys. I'd spend the night in my van. I had one of these vans, back then everybody know you had the panels inside in the bed and the speakers in the back. So every Friday, as soon as class was over, I hightailed it to Cocoa Beach, and then I'd come back late Saturday night and go to church. The next morning I had a student ministry. We did jail ministry and go talk to people in jail. But anyway, so I'm back and forth to Cocoa Beach every weekend. And so one Monday I'm called into the president's office.
At a Bible college.
At Bible college. And he goes, so you're the young man that goes to Cocoa Beach every weekend, right? I go, yes sir, that's me. He goes, we believe that someone is selling drugs on campus, and we think it's you. And I go, if I wanted to sell drugs, I probably wouldn't have tried it on Bible college campus. And I said, I had a career at that one time, but I don't do that anymore. And he goes, well, we believe it's you. I go, really? And he said, we want to search your van. So I gave him my keys, and I said, here you go, have at it. And I said, but put the panels back and all that. So long story short, and I'll make it shorter, they didn't find any drugs because I wasn't running drugs back and forth to Cocoa Beach. And I think one of the guys that was involved in that kind of felt bad about it. So he called me into the office 2 weeks later. He goes, so what's your student ministry? I go, well, I go to Bartow County Jail with a group of people. We go from cell to cell. We sing songs, and one of us stays and preaches. He goes, okay. He said, how would you like a different student ministry? I go, well, it depends on what it is. He goes, I understand C.M. Ward did a track on your brother, Yancey Spencer. I go, yeah, that's my brother. He goes, well, what if we paid for your gas to go to Cocoa Beach and your lunch, and you passed out tracts the whole time? I said, you got a deal. So I did that for about a year, and then I felt really guilty because I was surfing more than I was passing out tracts. But these are available if you want when we got them around the area, but this is probably back in early 70s, late 60s. C.M. Ward, who was a very famous radio guy for Assemblies of God, wrote a track on Yancey, and it tells his early story of how Yancey even closed his shop on Sundays because it was the Lord's Day, and he wanted to make, and he didn't even sell chicken strips or Chick-fil-A or anything. He just felt like he should keep his store closed on Sunday. So it's called Walking on Water. That's the name of the track. Yeah, that's where Chick-fil-A got their thing, sure.
So John, I have to ask this. I asked you this the other day. You had a nickname, people that know you well. They call you Street Fighter, and I never understood where that came from. Because you don't look like a big burly street fighting guy.
That guy on that picture right there, Hank Warner, called me Street Fighter for one reason. He also called me Helmet because he used to cut my own hair. It was super long. And it looked like a helmet. But we were out surfing at the cross one day, and this friend of mine from high school, and Hank was there, named Richard Jones, was out in the water. Richard wasn't a very good surfer, but he thought he was. There are a lot of guys like that. And so Yancey kept cutting him off because Yancey would be known for cutting him off. And especially if you couldn't surf, and he didn't want to give these really good waves to Richard, who couldn't surf, so he kept cutting Richard off. So Richard paddled over to me. He said, "I'm going up on the beach, and when your brother comes in, I'm going to kick his." And I went, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to beat your brother up." He said, "I'm sick of it." And I go, "Richard, you're not going to beat Yancey up." Yancey was kind of small, and I was a little bigger than Yancey. I said, "You're not going to beat him up." He said, "Yes, I am." So I'm out there surfing. I see Richard just standing on the beach. He's waiting. So I paddled in. I said, "Richard, you're not going to beat Yancey up." He goes, "Yes, I am." I said, "Well, you're going to have to beat me up first." And he goes, "I don't have a fight with you, John." I go, "Well, that's my brother." And so I kind of pushed him, and he goes, "I'll see you later." He packed his stuff up and left. And Hank was right there. And from then on, he kept calling me, "Street Fighter, all right, Street Fighter." So that's that story.
Okay, let's see where we can go next here. This is Beezer Turner, photo by Dave Skelton at Pensacola Beach, 1973 or 4, somewhere there. This is at the contest. This board is that board, but that board was lost or sold or something, and Yancey got it back many years later and had it redone because it was super beat up. But this is a guy named Dale Dobson, who was a great, famous surfer from San Diego, but he was on the East Coast, and he's one of the guys, I think he may have gotten second place. Yancey got first. But that board is a very historical board because, like was it JB said, that $1,000 doesn't seem like very much. But I looked it up today. I asked Siri, how much would $1,000 in 1972 be? And it's almost $8,000 now. But in surfing, okay, imagine if you had a house for $10,000 on Pensacola Beach, you could have bought it. But anyway, so it was a big deal, So anyway, so that's the board. This is Yancey, not the best shot with his mouth open, but it captures the young Yancey. He was less than 25. He's up in New Jersey. He and Dave Skelton. Beezer, were you with them? Went up to a contest and there was no waves. I think this was a waiting period during. I think it was what?
Tony Caruso.
Oh, and Tony Caruso. Oh, so he took the picture. Okay, all right. So anyway, that was probably like 1973, 4, 5, somewhere there. Okay. This is our mayor at a place called. There's a place if you don't surf at the end of the island on Fort Pickens, the waves used to wrap around, and it would be really choppy and windy on the beach, but you didn't care because it would blow offshore here, and the waves are great. And this JB on a really nice wave.
We tried to not tell anybody about that spot.
Yeah. Well, this is Joey Dillard. He was a longtime team guy for the on a Steve Forstall board. This is Wayne Jones. He shaped shine boards for a long time. Yeah. Yep. I love this picture. Did Caruso take this, Tony or Dave? Dave Skelton
Took that one.
What was the story behind this picture?
I don't know. Something they were trying to do something. I think Canvas McCaden.
Okay.
Whatever.
I love it. It just shows the beauty of Pensacola Beach, the clear water, the white sands. Just two friends. I mean, you guys have known each other forever, and back in your prime. This is the picture I actually took of a guy named Ben Ferry, and this is at that place called the Bay. And I actually developed this in Bert Pittman's darkroom. But anyway, that's Ben. He also had a nickname called Hobo and Sergeant Rock, I think, at one time. He was on the Interlight team back in the day. This is Hank Warner, this is him in San Diego. He was a longtime GNS surfboard shaper, and he would come back here and live and shape. It is amazing. I always thought it was so neat because they used to call San Diego America's finest city, but he would come here a lot. He loved it.
Beaches are pretty.
Oh, he lived. Okay. Okay. Wow. These are some of the guys at Malibu, I guess. Joey. 95. Okay. Joey Dillard and Tiki Jeff. Did Tiki Jeff pass away?
Not yet, I don't think.
Okay. And then Mike Litvak, and then, okay, so that's Tiki Jeff back there, that's Yancey, I'm sorry, and then I think is that Yancey the fourth? So in California, this is one of those pictures, that you got Yancey and Beezer and JB Falbo, and one on that photo session to try to get an ad in, and at our old pier, just an empty beach, beautiful day. I love that.
Nice and flat.
Nice and flat, yes, yes. This is, I think this is Panama City with Tyler Greenwell, Yancey, Brad English, and Tommy Greenwell. Out there for the day with their cooler and all. This is a thing Yancey did when he first became a believer, and he did this ad in a surfing newspaper. Whoever imagined I would be a surfing preacher, and that's him with his son, Billy Yancey. Photo taken by Mike Pratt. Here's our mayor again, Panama City Beach. So, you guys, this is a pretty broad question, but how did Yancey impact your lives? I know he impacted so many of us in surfing. Here I was a grown man. I felt ashamed if I didn't go surfing on the day. In fact, one time when my oldest daughter got married, the surf was about, I don't know, this big, and it was choppy, nothing special at all. And Yancey and Lydia came to the wedding, and Yancey not once but twice made a point to tell me that he skipped the waves to come to the wedding. I said Yancey didn't have to come, but I mean.
Well, I'll say this, that, you know, when I was 13 is when I started surfing. Yancey had already started surfing, and my mom didn't want him hitchhiking by himself, so that's how I ended up surfing. I got forced to hitchhike with Yancey to the beach. And,
Forced.
Yancey was just such an avid water guy that he kept a calendar, many of you would know, and every day he would write down how big the surf was, who was in the water, and you know who got a good ride, and I lived in the same room with Yancey, so like Beezer, we had pictures everywhere of David and Wewa and all that, but also the calendar, and it would have stuff like John didn't go out today, he hung out with his girlfriend, you know, or whatever, and then our John got a great nose ride, so it was like he chronicled everything on that calendar, 1 to 2 foot, you know, whatever. And it was just this motivating thing, like, gosh, I don't want to be on the calendar again as a guy that didn't go out. So he motivated everybody, I think, to be in the water. And like you said earlier, when you would see Yancey's van somewhere, you knew, well, that's the spot. Because we'd get there early and he would check every single spot till he decided this is the best spot. And he motivated people to be in the water. He was one of those guys. And one other thing was, Yancey probably had the biggest influence on my life by leading me to Jesus Christ and telling me his story when he came back. And I said, Yancey, why didn't you share with me earlier? He goes, I was afraid you'd laugh at me. And so he just slowly kept telling me about Christ and the Bible, and I went to church with him one night. But I would have to say, probably other than Jesus, he probably had the biggest impact on my life than anybody. Of course, he was my older brother, and we also beat each other up a little.
And where Yancey surfed, it was always the best, without a doubt. It was better than everywhere else on the beach. He would tell you that and let you know. So if you didn't surf there, you weren't catching the best waves. Which we differed on that quite a bit.
Yeah. Would you guys, like John and JB, would you say, was Yancey a father figure at all to you guys?
So Yancey was almost 8 years older than I was. So we kind of grew up with, our first father was a real absentee father. So Yancey was always more of a father than a brother figure to me. Probably that's the reason why we were able to work together and not fight, because he would be out surfing and I'd be in the shop working. You know, there was no rivalry in that respect, you know. So I was doing what I enjoyed and he was doing what he enjoyed. So in that respect, Yancey was definitely more of a father figure to me.
I remember at Yancey's funeral, you said that statement that you were a great match because Yancey loved to surf and JB loved to work. And so it was a great team.
Well, Yancey and I were 3 years apart. And he was not a father figure to me, but he was certainly a strong influence but we fought over it. That's my shirt. No, I'm wearing it. You know, that was the way we were. But you know, I always looked up to him as a surfer and just a leader. He was definitely that, and a very, as he became a believer, just a strong. You know, he would get out of the water when the surf was really good. In fact, that night I went to church with him. It was just so good at the cross, and he's packing up to leave. And I go, Yancey, where are you going? He goes, got to be at church. It's Wednesday night. And I go, the surf's amazing. He goes, got to be at church. It's Wednesday night. So I went to church with him that night. And that's just who he was.
Wow, wow. Is Scott here?
Yeah.
So
Where's Scott Bush?
I would like to take things a little different direction because you guys have been sitting for a while and you guys have been great. It's 7:25. We have this till 8 o'clock, but there's a story to be told that one of the most horrific things you could ever experience while out in the surf. Scott Shepard, who was on the original Greg Mill surf team and had been associated with the shop for many years, he experienced something, and I asked him if he was comfortable telling the story, and he said he would. So Scott, would you mind coming up and telling the story? You can take this right here.
Meatball. Job up, Rudy. I can say that Scott and I have known each other since kindergarten. He's one of my oldest friends.
We're still the best of friends. So, you know, I have to tell you a story before I get into this. 1966, I think he started several months before I did. Can you hear me? Okay. But when both of us came to as GBAHS said, he was a baseball player for the New York Yankees. You come to a fork in the road, take it. Well, Beezer and I had to do that. We are both playing baseball and trying to surf at the same time. We said, this is nuts. We need to take the fork. So we took the road of surfing, and it's a good thing we did. But, and I got it, if you want to see it, I'll bring it to next time. I've got a 1967 Blunt Junior High yearbook. Oh, no. And Beezer, this is how humble he used to be. He says meatball, and that was what he nicknamed me because I was bigger than he was, and his nickname John Hollingsworth I think nicknamed him Tweezers. So, we were the best. Yeah, I remember that. So I got this yearbook, and it says meatball. Hope you're as good a surfer as I am one day. Ha ha. Be the great. He's got to be one of the most humblest guys. You know, he's one of the best people that ever come out of this area. But anyway, enough of that. Yeah, Tom mentioned that I went through something when I was 15 years old that you wouldn't ever want to go through. At 15 years old, I had been I had invited to join the Greg Mill surf team. I rounded out the three. There was different divisions. I was the third boys division, and it was an honor for me. These guys had been on teams before. This is the first time I'd ever been on. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I mean, and we got surfboards for $75. I mean, I said, this is great. So that was 15 years old. Summer rolled around. John and Brad and Glenn had set the pace of going up to Delaware. So summer comes around, and Jerry Blank and Jackie Seal and Craig Bear and I got on that same train. There's a train right after the Intergalactic annual blowout. Got on the train at midnight, and we rode for 2 days on a train, 1,200 miles up to Delaware. We get picked up, taken to the skip shop, same scenario. So business was not good. Skip had to shut the surf shop down, and so our choices were go home or live in a tent down at the inlet. Skip felt so bad because Jerry and I were 15 years old. We had convinced our parents that, Skip was going to take care of us, and they agreed to it, which is a miracle in itself. And so he felt so bad, he got his girlfriend, who had 2 roommates. They were all telephone operators. Some of y'all don't know what those are. So here Jerry and I, living with 3 moms, they did our laundry, cooked food for us. We had our own bedroom. I mean, it was like unbelievable. We lived above another surf shop that started carrying Dreadnought, and so we got a free ride down to anywhere we wanted to go. So I mean, life was great. All right, now fast forward. That was June of 1970. Fast forward 2.5 months. We're now in the middle of August. We're 2 to 3 weeks away from having to go home. Jerry and I get in the van with Carl Goody, the owner of the Gemini Surf Shop down below. We said, let's don't go to Southside, let's go down to Ocean City, Maryland. There's a really good place to surf called 21st or 22nd Street. We pull up and we see before us a Porsche with the tag CC Rider. Who was that? Claudia Coggins. We went, wow, Claudia Coggins is out here. And we paddled out, and there he is. So we're out for about an hour or so. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. It's 3-foot glassy surf. I mean, unbelievable. And all of a sudden, next thing I remember, I'm underwater, fighting my way to try to find the surface. And I had blacked out, and I woke up real quick, and I'm trying to find my way to the top. And the thing I remember, and this was the thing that changed my life forever, I said, God help me. I remember saying that. And all of a sudden, Buddy Coggins, he's not God, and pulled me up, put me on my board, took me to the beach, and I'm happy. And every, this was, when this all got, immediately got around it. Scott's had this, surf accident. Well, it wasn't a surf accident. It would happen if I was walking down the street. I had a brain aneurysm and a vital organ section of my brain. So they take me to a clinic, then they take me to the hospital in Salisbury, Maryland, who it just so happened that there's a doctor working there that day and never worked on Sunday, but he was there, or rarely worked on it. Does a spinal tap, and he says, I think he's got a brain aneurysm. They find out that my stepfather's a retired colonel in the Army. They sent a helicopter from Walter Reed, Dover Air Force Base, came to Salisbury, picked me up on a helicopter, took me 100 miles to Walter Reed Army Hospital. All right, so I'm in there. They're running tests on me, and they ran tests on me, and I found out that I had a brain aneurysm, just like the guy had said. And they called my mother in and says, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a stainless steel clamp over that's the weak spot. The chances of this young man living through this is 1 in 100. If he lives, he'll be a vegetable. So that's the state I'm in. I mean, by the time I got to Walter Reed, I went from 125 pounds down to 89 pounds. All right, so I come back, and I'm a wreck. I mean, I look horrible. I mean, after 2 months in Walter Reed Army Hospital. But anyway, I made it through the surgery. They finally, flew me home to Eglin, and then I went home. And the doctors had told my mother specifically, your son should never surf again, and he'll never drive again. That's what I'm dealing with now. Okay, a guy that dreamed of being surfing all my life. That's what I'm dealing with. So one day I finally got the nerve. I went up to the surf shop, and these guys, man, were shocked to see me, but so glad. And they never made fun of me or anything. I mean, I had a patch over my eye, couldn't hear, I couldn't hardly see, couldn't swallow. I had to learn how to walk. This is what I'm gone from, surfing all the time and nothing. And people in the school were great. Anyway, it was the day that changed my life, was that Sunday morning out in Ocean City, Maryland. And, I'm grateful for that. I mean, it's just an absolute miracle. I mean, that's the short version. If I told you the long version and brought in some names that would blow your mind. And I always tell everybody, all this seems like it's a coincidence. It was God's plan for me to be able to talk my parents into letting a 15-year-old go up and live in the back of a surf shop for an entire summer. I mean, would you let your 15-year-old do that? Absolutely not. But it was all God's plan. And I remember when they finally said, okay, we're gonna let you go, but you got one requirement. So what is that? So you need to call your brother in Washington, D.C. once a week and just check in. I said, okay, what else? They said, that's it? I said, that's it? That's it. So like I said, we were off there. But it was, like I say, it was the day that changed me forever. And a couple years ago, I ran into, I'll wind this up real quick, Tom. A couple years ago, I ran into Mike Hayes. Mike here? Remember you came up to me and says, I've always wanted to tell you this, Scott. You cost me 1 year of starting surfing. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, your mom called my mom and told me to tell her that I had a surfing accident, that you had a surfing accident, and so she delayed it, let Mike start surfing for a year, because it was a surfing accident. It wasn't. I could have been walking down the street and it would happen. So, Mike, I'm sorry.
What inspiration Scott was. I mean, I remember Scott when we grew up down the highway, and I can remember when Scott got back, seeing him at the middle school because they were working on the high school, and we had to do shifts, and I could see Scott with his patch and his cane and his bald head, and I would just go, it's amazing this guy. That's so launch, then he got hit in the head by the surfboard. But look what he's doing, what strength he has, and everything that he, and I really looked up to Scott. I don't think I've ever told you that, Scott, but I remember seeing you.
Scott. So they told me I couldn't ever surf again. Well, they didn't say I couldn't water ski. I lived on the canal. We had a boat. The Covia brothers. Any of the Covias here? The Covia brothers. We started surf flat, so we started water skiing, which is a whole lot worse. And that was going pretty good. Get my strength back. So then we started wake surfing, and I said, man, this is really going good. So the day came, I said, George, Ted, Hank, we're going to the beach surfing. Oh, you can't do that. Your mom said you couldn't surf. I said, what she doesn't know won't hurt her. Well, and several months later, I said, Mom, I started surfing. She said, what else is new?
Scott, part of that story that you probably forgot was a bunch of us were living in a tent, south side.
Except for Jerry and I.
Yes, except for you and Jerry, you were living in the luxury palace. We're all living in a tent there in Delaware underneath the overpass, and we heard about Scott's accident. There was about 8 of us living in this tent, summer, surfing. And my brother Yancey came into the tent. None of us were Christians or went to church. And he said, Scott Shepard has almost died. He had an aneurysm. Claudia Coggins saved him. And Yancey, for some reason, we weren't church people at all. Yancey made us all get in a circle, join hands, and we prayed for Scott. And none of us even knew how to pray, but we just prayed that Scott would be okay, that God would watch over him. And Yancey just kind of initiated that. And I remember when I was actually working in the shop the day at Interlight, that little shop, you came back and you called, and I answered the phone, and I hear this guy go, "This is Scott Shepard." And I said, "Don't make fun of Scott. This is not funny." And he goes, "No, this is Scott." And I go, No, that's not funny. He said, "I'm coming up to the shop." I go, "Whatever, come on up." So here this guy pulls up and gets out. He's super skinny, got a patch over one eye. You might even had a cane, I can't remember. And we were just blown away that you were back. And we just said, oh my gosh, and hardly recognized you, but we were so stoked to see you there.
So 9 months after this we'll call it accident, I'm out surfing again. Thanks a lot.
Keep going on for a long time. It's 7:40. I think we have the room till 8. I think we have a few prizes we'd like to give away. But also, I want you to know that we're here because we're invited by the Gulf Breeze Historical Society here, and they really would like to build a surfing museum in Gulf Breeze. And there's a old house that's, well, if you know where Dunkin' Donuts is in Gulf Breeze, it's off to the side of that. And anyway, so they want to build something there, and that's why we're doing this. And they have a table in the back. Okay, so Pete, there's your... Okay, so we're gonna do a raffle tonight, and any money that's come in, and if anyone would like to join the Historical Society, the money's gonna be used they wanna build this museum for everybody. And we have a rich history to preserve. So why don't we do some of that now? Yes.
We have a .org site, GBAHS, Gulf Breeze Area Historical Society, GBAHS.org, and we're on Facebook, and these videos are on YouTube. If you want to go and see Tom's from the last 2 years, just look up Gulf Breeze Area Historical Society and donate. Let's make a museum.
So this is for the girls. Can any female tell me, and you could just guess, how old Yancey Spencer III was when he started surfing? You got nothing to lose. You can just yell.
12.
14.
Did I hear 15? Oh, is that Shay?
Go, Shay.
Would you pass this back to Shay, please?
Good girl, Shay.
Okay, this is for the guys. I was gonna say, what's the name of Gulf Breeze mayor? That's too.
Mine says take a trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a good way. It's like going on a trip. Get your mind out of the gutter, Shay.
Yeah.
Well, what's Beezer Turner's real name?
Oh, Gary.
Gary.
Oh, it's guys.
It's for the
Gary Arnold Turner.
Love you, Beezer. Yesterday.
This is Barbara Udid. She's the head of the Gulf Breeze Historical Society. It's because of her we're doing this tonight. So.
Thank you all for coming. This is kind of like the boring part after all this amazing surf history, which I love. I never surfed in my life, but I'm learning more now than I ever did know. Let me just say, I'm going to do some very, very, very quick business things because this is our monthly meeting and we just have to vote on a couple of quick things. One of them is a very exciting thing though. And, but if you do not have a red ticket, you should have gotten a red ticket when you came in because we're going to draw for all the door prizes are on the red table. And then on the white tablecloth, those are the raffle tickets, which are $5 a piece or 5 for 20. And then it'll be a first come, first serve. So if you call out the red ticket and you get the number, you get to go and pick something from the red table. If you have the white ticket, then you'll go to the white table. So if you don't have those tickets, go ahead and get them now. And I put agendas out, so if you're a member, hopefully you have an agenda, and I'm just going to kind of quick go through this. If you do the minutes from the last meeting, I just need a motion, a second, and we're going to vote. So who wants to make a motion? Betty Burrell, wants to second it? Okay, I don't know. Is that Charlie Rockberry? Okay, so all the members that are here, we're just gonna say, do you vote yes to approve the minutes? Yes, okay, any opposed? Okay, they're approved.